going on, everybody? How we doing? We're jumping on Women Crush Wednesday. I'm so excited to have Brianna Brown Keene coming on. She's amazing. She's an actress, producer. I feel like she's my life coach. And her favorite quote is "Make shit happen." So I'm super stoked to have her on and chat all things just up leveling, right? And I did not put my dogs upstairs, so do not mind. You need to go lay down. Go lay down. Sorry, guys. But hopefully we can get her on. Let's see. Let me see if I have to request her. Okay, there we go. Looks like, hey. Let's see. Hopefully it worked. Anyways, hi everybody. I hope everybody's Wednesday is amazing. Started mine off great. Hi.
Hi. Do I need to change my camera angle?
You know what?
Let me
we
see.
can
Let me
totally
adjust
do
it.
like this.
Let me adjust it. No, you don't need to see my bedroom.
I wonder how that happened. Oh, you know what? You have to hold it like, there you go.
There we go. Well, this is all right. Here we go.
Hi.
Hi.
There we go.
I'm good. How are you?
I am great. I have just been in complete awe since I did the workshop with you, and so Brianna has this amazing book, and just check it out. We'll of course link all of her information so you guys can learn more about her and how she elevates so many people in the room. But this book, we did a Manifesting Your Mission workshop, me and a few other girlfriends with Brianna Brown Keene. And it has been transformative. And so you know I wanted to ask you a million questions, and then you were like, nope, we got to keep it back on you. We can't divert our attention. But one of the questions that I was really so interested with you first and foremost, and I didn't really get time with you, was like, what was the catalyst for all of this? Because you've done so much. You know, you're an actress, a producer, a speaker, an author. You know, where did it first start for you when you realized you could really impact people like this?
You know, I think like most people, it's a journey. And you don't necessarily know why you're drawn to certain things that you're drawn to. But for example, you know, many things that were hardships in my life, I realized were so part of my purpose, right? I think I felt very drawn to, especially with women, collecting sounds a little creepy, but surrounding myself with positive, supportive women is because I had such terrible experiences with women growing up. So because of being so severely bullied when I was younger for a multitude of reasons, I really put off women. And then when I moved to Los Angeles at 19, it was just like, I felt like the men wanted something else and the women didn't have my back. And so I ended up collecting, slowly meeting really pure-hearted women who we had a similar kinship. And so through that, you know, and I was always facilitating groups, whether it was a drug prevention group in high school that I did my senior year, that I was part of a program, to literally my manager's clients when I was very young, doing the Artist Way group. And I facilitated multiple Artist Way groups just because I was like, I needed it. And I knew I would be more motivated to finish for other people over just doing it for myself. Like if I said, I'm going to go run X amount of miles and nobody's there to like care or applaud, or I don't know, I don't get a trophy, I'm like, who cares? But if it's a bunch of us, I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make sure you do it too. And so I knew that about myself. So I thought this is a great way to create community, because I didn't have any. And you know, it was hard. And also just to help myself elevate myself, because I realized, you know, there was a lot that I didn't know. I'm completely a self-starter. Like I didn't have the luxury of getting to go to a conservatory. I didn't have the luxury of a lot of these things because I made certain choices and I was brought to Los Angeles with representation, but then I was told to sink or swim. And so I had a lot of learning I had to do at 19.
And you were originally from like Minnesota, right?
Yes, I was from Minnesota. And I just want to remind you all, this was pre-YouTube. This is pre cameras on phones. This is pre you can like, you know, go become famous.
You can't like Google everything, like
No,
figuring out how to do
no,
life. Right.
no,
Yeah.
there was not like the internet was new. And, you know, even auditioning was by VHS. So I would do tapes in Minneapolis and audition for casting calls in Minneapolis by VHS. And then I had representation bring me out. But point is like I through doing that, and then I would have these really profound hits, right? Like I would just know things. And I'm like, I don't know why I know this, but maybe do this. And then that was what that person needed to hear. And so over the years, you know, I started the New Hollywood. So, you know, I'd done a bunch of artist way.
What is that? Can you describe what that is? Because that's so cool too.
Thank you. It's a nonprofit I found in 2006. It's a 501c3 nonprofit that supports socially conscious storytellers and change makers through grants, goals, and mentorship. And, you know, we would have these goal groups with people or goal meetings with people in the entertainment industry. Now everyone's so accelerated. Like now we're helping other people, but because everyone that's still continually in this mastermind accountability group is just like crushing it. And so, but I found that through doing that, I was able to, again, not only help myself, but help peers and then level up and also have a really safe space. Because especially for those of you who don't understand, like in the entertainment industry, you go on these sets and you think, oh, we're all gonna be family. And that's just often not the case. And you really have to be kind of cautious about what you say to whom or revealing too much, because at the end of the day, it's work and not really your friends, but you're having to like be married to it. So it was nice to have a place where you could go be vulnerable, that was safe, and be like, this is what I'm struggling with. And then at the same time, have people say, oh my God, I'm going to applaud you for like having that win, instead of having a catty comment like, oh, well, I understand why you got, you know, with the thing that we've all experienced.
Yep. Yep. Which is what propelled you. And it so resonates with me too, because I was almost like an only child. I had much older brothers than me. And so I did feel like alone a lot as a young kid. And then I was sort of the new kid in all these schools. And often I felt like I was teased or bullied or all of the things. And you walk this path of feeling like not good enough or unwanted, and then you just carry, unless you do the work, you just carry that with you in all these different phases of lives. Like, I need to have a job with 6 figures, or I need to have this kind of car, because then everybody else decides that I'm cool or whatever. And then doing the work to really go, wait a second, like, let's collectively up level, which is why what you just said, you know, you in your most recent answer, you said, you know, you, that you do well in groups, creating groups and having accountability with each other. And that's why I love, we're going to have you on as a guest for Entertain Her, because I agree with you. I think women are so much stronger together when we're really genuinely rooting for each other.
Yeah.
And especially in the entertainment industry, you know, and we talked about it on an episode recently too, with Erica and I, where there is this inherent, and I know for sure my industry as a sports broadcaster, there is a sense of competition. Now, I believe it's changing, but where did the competition come from? In my opinion, because the seat at the more male dominated table is limited. So it's not like it's a plethora of women. It's only a few of us allowed in this production meeting, and it's mostly guys. So it's rare, but it's so beautiful when you're like, no, I have your back. This works for me. I don't know if you want to try it. And you see the genuine support, because what I gathered from you is it becomes contagious when you really genuinely root for somebody and you really have their back and their best interest. Then it changes the dynamic on set, or it changes the dynamic in the production meeting.
Well, and you know, I remember the first time I saw a woman being supportive of other women, and it like was like a ding in my head. And I remember I was with Leslie Mann and her friend, and we went to this like club or something. It was after a reading of a play, and both the friends noticed this other woman and were complimenting her to each other. And that was the first time I ever saw women doing that And I was like, wow. And then I remember being on CSI Miami, and one of the leads, Emily, she said to me, and because I was a guest star, I was like a co-star or guest star, something smaller role, and she was one of the leads. And I asked her, I said, do you want to run lines? Which actually they don't usually run lines with you, which is a whole other thing. But she looked at me and she was like, no, I'm good. I'm good. And at one point she said, one day I'll be on your show. And I was like blown away that somebody that, I'm just like, whoa, you're at a level I can't even, I'm trying to someday get to. But to say that to someone, I was like so touched. And so there have been women throughout that have said these little seeds of possibility. And I think, we're in this lovely era of like women supporting women and Me Too and all of that. But I think there's bigger conversations that need to be had with all of it. And more importantly, we get to lead by example about what that really means. I wrote this post, and it actually that came out today, that said, there are women supporting women, and there are women who support women when it's convenient for them. And it's like, we get to choose which one, because we cannot be both. So one is a lower level of dysfunction and insecurity, and we get to look at that and heal that. And another is saying like, I got you. And guess what? I'm not going to make a jab at you. I'm not going to go after your man or give him energy. Like, I got you, sister. I have you. And I see you. And I see that you've tried, even if we don't walk around with all of our battle scars, that doesn't mean we don't all have them, Yeah. This beautiful quote by Edith Eger, who is like this incredible psychologist who is a Holocaust survivor from Auschwitz. She wrote, and her story is, what she's gone through is tremendously awful. And how she's come out the other side is incredibly inspiring. And she said, there is no hierarchy to trauma. And I thought, God, that's so beautiful. And if we could just see that in that sisterhood, there is no hierarchy to trauma. You have your trauma or your heartache. I have mine. Just because we don't wear it with, our brownie sash or Girl Scout sash. Like, look at all the badges I earned. We would love each other more if we did. We'd be like, damn girl, you had this happen to you. Me too. And I think that's what's so wonderful when we can be in that collective space to be truly authentic and vulnerable. But the only way it's going to happen is to lead by example and to have a higher bar as to what it means to really be a woman who supports women.
Right. And not just do it when it's convenient. And I always say, I'm always listening how people talk about people, right?
Yeah.
And
me too.
My radar's always up. And look, there's a difference between gossip and vent. Like, I think sometimes it's okay. Hey, like right now I'm just venting, but knowing the difference between bad mouthing somebody and, needing to just sort of like air out your grievances. And there's, right? You're going to say something. Go ahead.
Well, no, and I'm a big believer that every conflict is an opportunity. So there is something that we get to learn, right? So if someone's triggering our baloney, because we all got it, there's something for us to learn, right? What is it that what am I supposed to learn from this? What is this highlighting? And it may mean that this person isn't my kind of girl or guy. And I get to speak up and set a boundary and say, this doesn't serve my highest good. Or it may say like, and this has happened to me tons of times, right? Like, especially when I was postpartum and like your hormones are crazy and you're like on your phone way too much because you're breastfeeding and you're like, I don't know what to do all the time. And you're just like suddenly getting in like these social media wormholes of comparison or whatever, because you're going down an addictive, route that, AI is like, caught you. But Louise Hay talks about there's a difference between jealousy and envy. And we get to use jealousy because jealousy is an indication of what it is we want next. So what, like, I'm like, oh, I'm mad that she's so fit. And it's like, well, then what can I do to be more fit? Yeah. Or the other side is like, I wish I looked like that, but I'm not willing to make those sacrifices, and good for her. And I'm going to eat my cake and enjoy that. Right. And enjoy that choice and recognize like some people where you're like, I could never, the amount of restriction would not be a life worth living for me, or whatever that is, right? So physical is an easy one to compare to, but I think like recognizing that and then giving yourself grace you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, and I think you're right, because people get jealous. They don't know why they're jealous, and then they hunt you down, and they feel like being an internet troll, and they just
Yeah.
project vomit all over you. And
Yeah.
when really they just want to do the job or wear the outfit or have whatever. And jealousy, like you said, jealousy, envy, those are tools, I think, to learn from, just by being aware that you feel it. I don't think jealousy is a bad thing. Like,
No.
we as a society have deemed it to be bad because it's low vibrational, but it's an opportunity, like you said, for growth. I know I am short on time with you, but a couple of things that I did want to ask you about, that you do detail and you discuss in your guidebook, and of course, like I said, we'll post all of this, so people can learn about you and buy the guidebook too, because it's been transformative for me. You know, what do you tell your clients if they do feel stuck? And stuck can be a lot of different ways. Stuck can be like procrastinating. I'm stuck, like I don't want to do this thing, or literally stuck in life, which I know a lot of people going through it, which is just feeling like stagnant.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of different reasons we get stuck, right? So there's usually a couple questions I ask them. They're all in the guidebook. So like, but to be like, so it's like I'm reflecting back what they're already revealing. And then sometimes I get hits on how to go about, how to explain it in a different way that might be heard more, or have other sources. So it's heard in stereo, right? So it's like, this is what I think, but also so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so believe this. and that might be like, oh, okay, well then let me hear that, because it's often a limiting belief or fear. But a lot of times if we're stuck, we have to look at things differently, right? And reframe hurdles as just, I call them, like, there's problems, obstacles. I call them hurdles, because a hurdle, if you view it that way, you can glide over. I mean, maybe not easily, but ideally you can, versus something that feels insurmountable. And I do believe that anything that's not working in your life, it means there's something I don't know yet. There's something I don't know yet. So I look back at things that I, seemed daunting before, and I'm like, well, I just didn't know XYZ. So whether it's a mentor or mentorship through books, or hearing about a certain method, that can help someone circumvent, or make them realize, like, is this what they really want? Because sometimes what we think we want and what we actually want are not aligned, and that can cause discord. Right?
Yeah, and I appreciate that too, because what I'm hearing from you is just shift the mindset. I think sometimes we get so frustrated, and like I've been in such a place of like therapy and healing, and utilizing all the modalities of such, and I'm like, why am I not healed? Like, I'm like, hurry up.
I
And
know.
I think the shift of what you're saying is just trusting that every opportunity is an opportunity for growth, and not need the finish line. Like, and that's sometimes what I think I do need to work on, is like, I feel paralyzed with my perfectionism. Yeah. And so I get stuck on, like, let's say your guidebook. I'm like, but I don't know the answer. And that was kind of what you had suggested. You're like, just write shit down. Just do it, And I've needed to take little tiny breaks of like, okay, I'm going to meditate today, 5 minutes. That's it. Like, I'm not chunking it off 20 minutes. It's way too long. And then I get into 5 minutes and I'm like, all right, that's pretty good. Like,
Yeah. Well, especially for someone like yourself who's type A and a perfectionist, like, perfectionism is a lot of fear that if I don't do this right, then it's not enough. Instead of realizing, like, sometimes just doing a little isn't more than enough. And sometimes, it's the 1% progress over time. And it's looking at things from a different perspective and allowing things to be messy. Because, when we're a toddler and we're learning to run, it's like, there's a whole process, and we don't give ourselves grace on how long certain learning curves are. But if you pay attention and you really learn the lessons as you're getting them, which is why I have the monthly prompts to have you, like, look at things and then relook at them and then look at them again. Because unless you have a photographic memory, you're not getting the lesson right away. You know what I mean? We've all been in relationships and then been in another relationship and maybe even another relationship and been like, why didn't I get it? And we weren't learning it as we go. And I think the problem with a lot of therapy is people can over therapy, and where they're not just doing, where it's just like, just do and fail, do and fail, do and fail, do and fail, or not, don't try and fail, but like do and learn. Yeah. And if you fail, it's a lesson.
Yeah.
And what can you learn from it? You know, I mean, the woman who created Spanx, one of the things that her father had her sit down and do, I listened to this speech on her, which I thought was really interesting. One of the things her father had them say at their kitchen table every night was, how did you fail today? So she learned at a young age, failing wasn't bad. She learned failing was taking a risk. And so when she went to go create her company, and you should absolutely like Google listening to her speak, she, I don't know if she has a TED Talk, but she definitely has like a hour-long speech that she did, and it's online. You just realize like she didn't know what she was doing, but she was just like, I'm just gonna figure it out. And she just did and did and did, because she had tenacity. And she said she had an idea that even if I fail, I will learn along the way and I'll just get better. And I think that that's been the blessing in disguise for me in an industry that's so like unpredictable, is that I had so much tenacity, you know, to just say, I'm going to fail and I'm going to fail again. And I fall down again and I'm going to learn and I'm going to learn and I'm going to learn. And I outlearned a lot of people. So while some other people might have had more talent or had more leverage as far as like connections, I was like a workhorse, you know, and people don't see those sacrifices. They don't see like what I was or wasn't doing, you know, on weeknights and weekends.
They see a pretty face. They see, you know, someone that speaks well, and they think you don't have your own adversity. And I think the big takeaway with the Spanx founder, and it sounds like with you, is you guys got really comfortable being uncomfortable. And the relationship with yourself is the number one relationship, where you're right, perfectionists struggle with failure. And then ultimately we stay stuck. And then we don't have, you know, we don't take chances. And so you don't have the courage to fail.
Well, and I think that that can even be a thing with people who have a lot of degrees, right? Like they get their I work with a lot of people who, you know, who went to Ivy League schools, and there's like, well, this is the way. And I'm like, says who? Says who? Because there's always someone else who's done it another way. Now that may be the fastest way, so you may want to pay attention to that. I'm not saying negate that, but that doesn't mean it is guaranteed. And I think that you know, we get to explore and we get to see, you know, sometimes, and we spoke about this, sometimes seemingly a step backwards is a step forwards. You know, I had a career move where I thought, well, this is a step back and I can't do this. And then I had to, you know, check myself and realize, no, this wasn't a step back. And I could do XYZ while on that, on this show. And I did the show, and it was one of the best times I ever had. There were so many benefits, and it increased my fan base, all the things that I actually needed. And so I think we know what we want, and we think we know everything. And I think sometimes we need to just shut up and be guided and listen and stop negating things that are coming toward us, because it doesn't look like the idea in our head. And you know, I say this to people who are like single and looking for somebody, and I've helped a handful of people like go from like dating duds to like finding their husband. And not that needs to be the goal, but you know, that was their goal. And I said, you don't know what you want. If you knew what you want, you'd be with them already. So stay open.
Oh my God.
Stay open. You know, and like going through some of that. And I'm like, and get rid of the riffraff. Anybody that doesn't want like ultimately a real commitment, you should not be spending time with them.
And they just need to hear it.
You just need to be like, hey girl, no more bed buddies. No more friends that your future husband is never going to be cool with you being friends with. And that guy's never going to want to be friends with your husband. So cut them out. It's a waste of time, because now you're not going to that art gallery you'd be going to, because you're going to Netflix and chilling with some loser.
Right.
You know,
you're hilarious. I love you.
But it's like, what are you doing? If this is what you want, then your time and your energy are the most valuable commodities you have, period. That we have so little time and energy. And as women, we just spread it so thin, and then we're resentful. It's like, girl, you're not honoring you. You're not honoring what you need. You're not honoring your purpose. And if we don't keep checking ourselves on our purpose, and I know for myself too, we'll get off path. Yeah. Because we'll be like, everybody's everything, you know?
Yeah. And that's, I mean, you nailed it. I swear, this is such a great book, you guys, like, especially as, you know, we started it in September, but I think you can start it any time of the year. Certainly January 1st, I'm sure you sell out of these, because people just hit the ground running when you really become intentional. And that's, and intentional about, I think, we now, you guys watching at home, there's so much distraction, and I fall victim to it too. I had to literally put like a time limit on my social media because I would eradicate the time and go over. And having you in our life to remind us that anything is possible and dreams can come true. Brianna, we're so I felt so amazing after our workshop, and I did not stop telling Sarah, I'm like, this is the best gift. Like, give them to your bridesmaids, because helping other people do well, be well, feel more fulfilled, I think is the best gift. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, well, you know what? I believe that if we all were fulfilling our purpose, our world would be a much happier, saner place.
Amen to that, right? Brianna, thank you so much. Brianna Brown Keene, thank you for your time. I will add all of the things so people will for sure want to get in touch with you, and have an amazing Wednesday.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Bye, you guys.